Grody running a very interesting sort of toolbox lion setup, it looks like. Crane Splash, definitely not abnormal, but certainly not what I would consider a standard lion. Running Voice of Honor above question and one duelist training to give yourself some extra control and protection for your lion shenanigans. And Fleepa running a strict Phoenix Dishonor deck, running the full package, including a Seeker of Knowledge, Waning Hostilities, Mono no Ware, and the 3 backhanded compliments as finishers. Dynasty-wise for him, it's pretty standard, I do believe. 2 Mia Satoshi is maybe not as normal, but everything else is the pretty standard allotment. 7 holdings, 3 library, 3 storehouse, 1 conjo. And the 3 keeper initiates, of course, as well. Work really well with Satoshi. So a pretty hard control Phoenix deck versus a, I would say a aggressive Lion build, using Crane to sort of protect its aggressiveness, to get ahead and then sort of like stay ahead. And once we get the password from Grody, we'll be able to get into this deck, or into this match. Alright, looks like match was already underway. Sorry, we seem to have started this one a little late. But we are still in turn 1 conflict phase. It looks like Grody opened up with a Satoshi and an Akoma Prodigy, using Satoshi to mill just 2 cards. Or maybe we had a Satoshi dupe in the starter, using Satoshi to mill 1 card and finding an Implacable Magistrate. Meanwhile, the Dishonor Phoenix opener, opening with a Meddling Mediator 2 Fate. Very important card when you're a Dishonor deck to keep the Mediator alive, because it slows your opponent down or accelerates your own win condition. And we see Fleepa keeping 5 Fate up in the top right there. I should probably swap over to Jigoku. Ha! Let's do that real quick. Alright, there we go. So we do have Fleepa still on 5 Fate, running, keeping that a Fate Worse Than Death in his pocket as a threat. So we do see a military attack here from Lion, just a poke, using the Stronghold, gets assassinated by Fleepa. And it looks like Fleepa did go the full 5-1 bid turn 1, looking to keep this library online because it'll give him incremental card advantage over the course of the game without needing to spend honor, and indeed siphoning honor from his opponent. This is actually really interesting for Grody now. He's probably it's going to be risky for him to declare a second conflict now, because it'll activate this Mediator who'll be able to take his last Fate or an honor and start putting the clock on. And Fleepa is pretty clearly able to just pass his conflict here. Oh, but he might declare one anyway using the Shrine Maiden. I don't know if I like this as much, because then Satoshi will just defend whatever it is. But looks like he gets a Cloud the Mind and discards a Court Games and a Goblin Sneak. Goblin Sneak also a very interesting card in Fleepa's list, a good denial card. Well, I suppose if Satoshi just defends whatever you do, you can Fate Worse Than Death him without much worry. The only way that would not work out is if it's political, and Grody's first action is to play a Cloud the Mind. It is just me, Anil, just me. Feel free to hop in when you finish your game. Oh, was Luke also going to cast? I didn't have anything for him. Regardless, he can see the chat and message me if he wants to hop in. Yeah, we're going to go for the military conflict. That's correct. Going for air. Lion cannot really safely defend this in any way. This is actually a really tricky position. I'm not sure what I would do here myself in Grody's shoes. If you have a charge, it's quite good for you to just not defend and charge into Turi. But defending with Satoshi is very risky, because it's almost certain that Fleepa has the Fate Worse Than Death in hand, ready to go at this Mia Satoshi. And if that would be the case, then Satoshi ends up not defending. You get the unopposed anyway. You lose 2 honor or 2 glory for the favor, which will be very important in this matchup. Yep, looks like Grody just takes the honor hit here, down to 6. And you also can't really declare a conflict with Satoshi here either. You should just leave him up and defend with him in the second conflict, force out that Fate Worse Than Death, or just leave him standing. But you have to eventually play into the Fate Worse Than Death. You can't just like play around it all game. And not playing into it here, I imagine Fleepa will just go for the Fire Ring and take that off the table, dishonor the Satoshi anyway. So I think it's probably best to let the Phoenix player pay for it. Looks like we're going to be getting a co-caster in here. We're going to be joined by Luke, another fellow Ohioan. Hey, how's it going, Luke? Are you in the game? Let me give you the password.
Yes, I have been casting it. It is password 1.
Yeah, I got it.
Just the number 1.
I'm in the game already. I'm actually streaming right now. Are we running 2 streams right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna point them over to your stream. I had like 3 people watching mine.
Alright, that works. Alright, so anyway, we see above question come out free conflict, or as the first action in the conflict. This will be very huge to play around that Fate Worse Than Death that Fleepa was threatening. And very good tech include here for Grody, proving it very worthwhile.
Yeah, I was mentioning this on my stream before. Because the Phoenix player is going on that hard dishonor strategy, is not really packing much of the attachment hate that usually comes along with the Scorpion Splash. He's really pretty vulnerable to above question as the 3 of include. Can't deal with it unless he sees one of his Mia Mystics.
Yeah, and because the Satoshi has 2 faith, the above question will prove lasting value over multiple turns. Also interesting that Fleepa goes for Earth, very good for Dishonor decks, I suppose, instead of Fire to dishonor the Satoshi. Loses a guard duty. That's a little bit sad, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, the above question more important than the guard duty on this first turn, but surely he would have played it out on the next turn.
Yeah. And we do see Fleepa take the favor, also very important. If he manages to flip a Conjure District, that could just be, well, I hate to say the end of the game, but that's typically how things go. Good old 1 per deck balanced cards. We see Grody just discard Detori and keep the Magistrate. A very interesting choice considering Fleepa already has an honored character on board. Though I suppose
that Meddling Mediator has no military, but with the box it can go up to 3, so it's an interesting choice to keep it.
And we do see Fleepa get in Radiant Orator, a very good card for Dishonor, because it forces your opponent to overcommit to certain conflicts if he wants to win them, or it'll just win you a conflict a turn, which is also pretty good.
Yeah, it really just lets him stall out the board state, which is very powerful when he has Sukune out. He's just stalling to get his combo kill, really.
Yep. I mean, it's a slow, gradual bleed to inevitable death against a Phoenix Dishonor deck. And we do see the Radiant Warrior come out with 3 Fate. I have to imagine he's going to pass next. Not going to worry about the Solemn Scholar right now. He's going to get an extra draw off the library, and seeing 2 Keepers this early will be very huge for him, as he'll be able to go Water first conflict. And Water will be very good against this Death Seeker.
Yeah, really just not a very impactful flop. Doesn't really, for Grody, doesn't really establish the tempo he wants to try to accumulate here.
Yeah, for sure. And we do see Fleepa, go ahead, buy the Solemn Scholar, putting him below threshold for Fate Worse Than Death, though he can just pick up a Fate on his first conflict here. Um, but at the same time, Fate Worse Than Death not that useful on this board state anyways, so I suppose buying the Solemn Scholar with 1 Fate is actually a pretty good move. Start establishing a dominating board presence.
So we were trying to figure out over on my stream earlier whether we could figure out why you would ever keep the 4 cards that Free saw on that first turn. Did you think that that would be a strong enough set of 4 cards to hold before you even see your first 4 conflict cards?
I missed the mulligan stage entirely because I came in late.
Okay, so he kept with 0 mulligans, a keeper, a mediator, a library, and a storehouse.
Yeah, I think that's a fine flop as your Dishonor deck. You want to keep as much... You only want to buy like 1 character turn 1. And Mediator's like probably your ideal one, so Mediator 2 Fate, good start. And extra card draw is perfect for you. Allows you to start level bidding early. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good start.
I suppose you know that even against the most aggressive decks you're likely to face right now, which this Lion deck actually isn't, you're not really going to be able to die that fast. So getting those extra cards when you know you're going to 1 bid early is pretty important, you'd say?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the only way that flop would have been more ideal is if he saw 2 libraries. Like, yeah, I can't really think. I guess like maybe a naive student instead of the mediator, but even then.
Yeah, as you said, mediator, it does prevent your opponent from declaring 2 conflicts against you without getting punished.
Yep, it's one of your Dishonor staples. It just slows your opponent down, and you're able to still declare 2 conflicts a turn and keep them on the back foot. So we do see the Water Ring come out first here. It's just going to remove the Death Seeker 100% of the time. Yeah. Let's see. He's doing military though, so we could see like a charge. Not that it does a whole lot here. It actually does.
Yeah, Magistrate is only active on attacking the Implacable, unlike the Scorpion Magistrate would not work on defense.
Oh, very nice move here. We do see a guard duty come out first action on the defense here by Grody, meaning that since Fleepa will have to spend an action to pump up with the Stronghold, this Radiant Orator, Grody will be able to trigger the guard duty and then have an Honored Satoshi should he get sent home.
Well, if you go in to bow the Death Seeker, are you really that disappointed if you bow Satoshi instead?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's a big mill. And he did hit Palace.
Yep.
That changes the game quite a bit.
Yeah, that removes the favor lock coming out here. And
although I do think it means that it might mean that Grody loses the game. He's already on 6 honor and he has 10 dynasty cards left.
Yeah, I think it was a really bad idea to use Satoshi here instead of your guard duty as well. Now you can just get sent home without using your guard duty. So we see Fleepa pass. That's so interesting. He used... Wait, what did he use the Stronghold on? He gave it to the Orator but didn't use the action.
He did use the action eventually. Not before Satoshi got honored though, so potentially a mistake there.
Yeah, super interesting letting Satoshi get honored before sending him home, though I suppose Satoshi can always defend your second conflict and just get honored that way. But you really want to win this Water Ring anyway, going back to your comment about buying Satoshi instead of the Death Seeker because it gets you 2 keepers.
Yeah, that Keeper Initiate does make that starting set of Dynasty cards a little bit better as well. Yeah. As long as he's not taking breaks, he's not losing the game, he can sit back. He usually plays very methodically. He was top Phoenix in Season 4.
Yep. So we did also see 2 Ujiakis discarded. I do believe that's both Ujiakis in his deck. I don't know if he's running 3.
Yeah, I've got the decks up. That's all of the Ujiakis.
Yeah, and
Let's see
all
what other
three
deck he's
generals,
lost.
2 spirit
All
colors,
three
all three
spirit
spirit
colors.
colors. That's actually a really rough mill for Grody. It's not looking good for him. Only 1 keeper too. So he's also lost 1 LPB. So in his deck, he's got basically 2 LPBs as
Oh,
actually scary
the
cards.
Palace was the only the Palace was the only other Imperial card, and I think he had.
Yeah, I mean it's fine if you lose the Ujiakis, and even fine if you lose the like generals, but losing all 3 spirit colors like that is actually brutal because now you have no way to get those back. We see a Master of the Spear come out for an attack here. Going to be able to do a little bit of an attack. I don't know how effective it will be, just because there's so many characters that Master of Spear's ability will not do a whole lot here. But it does require a large commitment by Fleepa to actually defend any sort of conflict.
And obviously must respect display of power.
Yep. I don't think he's going to go air here anyway. I would probably go void and remove this mediator.
Grody is on 3 stand your ground, so if he does go void, he doesn't have to worry about Satoshi just yet with the guard duty on there, assuming he's drawn one.
We seem to go fire instead. Interesting. If I were Fleepa, would I display a power this?
With the opponent at 5 honor and not really making any progress, you put it on the Death Seeker, I think, and just get 1 point closer to winning.
It's possible. We could also see a fate worse than death if Grody pushes for the break, but I don't think he will. All right, so we see the win. Do we see display of power? Yes, we do. All right. So yeah, I think you probably just dishonored the Death Seeker.
Well, with the guard duty and the fate and the above question on Satoshi, I don't think you're going to be able to push him out of the game on the timeline you really want. So I agree. It's probably going to be Death Seeker.
I mean, at this point, your win condition as Fleepa might be to just drive your opponent out of Dynasty cards. He's down to 10. Satoshi can't be used to find more duplicates reliably. And Grody's going to basically have to keep whatever he flips every single turn. But we see him dishonor the Master of the Spear, which is a fine move as well, because it gives you an option to use your Stronghold to further debuff it and remove a conflict from your opponent.
Always nice when you can use your stronghold to turn other people's characters into 0/0 potatoes like yours do when they're dishonored.
Yeah. It's a nice feeling. Alright, so we do see Fleepa pass his conflict opportunity here, looking to protect the library, I assume. I don't know why I wouldn't make maybe a poking attack here. I mean, I suppose it would be political. Looking to maybe avoid a policy debate would be the main reason.
It's a compelling reason if you don't have a censure, I think.
Yep. Oh yes, the Imperial Favor as well. That makes a lot of sense. You want to beat out this Imperial Palace and hold on to the favor.
Well, he's up 3, so I guess if he attacked with the Solemn Scholar and lost, wouldn't he still be up 1?
Yeah. So we see chat talking a little bit about what could be left in Grody's deck here. We know there's 2 keepers. There's probably 2 Taturis. I mean, what else can we glean just by looking here? Maybe another Steadfast Samurai, some Matsu Berserkers. We see him discard the Mia Mystic going into next turn, but keep the other 2 characters, which I think is a wise move. You want to actually make every character count. And he flips the Taturi, which is good for him. Ujiaki going to be able to pull out LPBs, which will be very good as well. I do not believe he has a Bayona in his deck, but LPB is just as good.
Yeah, this is a tough position to be sure. Hopefully Freya hasn't drawn any of his waning hostilities. Could just drop Sukune and stop letting the game get played.
I have to imagine that's exactly what's going to happen here. If not waning hostilities, he's going to look to gain some fate in the conflict phase and just use display of power to deny your opponent a conflict. Though on 2 fate here, there's actually not a whole lot that Grody needs to worry about outside of display of power. Grody on 4 fate though, he could easily set up a really strong board here by going military with this Master of the Spear, charging into Turi, and then for Greater Glorying. And the Void Ring isn't the biggest deal if it gets display of powered here, so I think it's just fine to take the 2 fate off that.
Interestingly,
to go air.
politicals into yeah, shameful display.
Oh, this is nice at least. You have to defend with more than one character. It's really interesting here. It looks like Fleepa's having some connection issues, but if Fleepa uses Shameful Display first action here, that leaves your charge to Turi not dishonored. We seem to defend the Psalm Scholar as well. Okay, but yeah, then you could charge to Turi, send home Sukune if she was solo defending, and then break that way, and get a double air ring, and pretty well shut off any dishonor progress that that Fleepa's made. But defending with the Psalm Scholar makes this much harder to actually win for Grody.
Yeah, it was a smart defense for sure.
I think I would still use the Shameful Display first action here. And that's what we see. Shameful Display first action. Grody just decides to pass. Decides it's not really worth winning.
Yeah, thanks to his holdings freeze up, he's drawn 5 more cards. Yeah, 5 more cards than Grody has over the course of the game, while still being up honor. So it is quite plausible that Grody just hasn't seen what he's seen.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. That's what a little bit of the awkwardness with like above question can do for you. You can end up with these attachments that don't really help you win conflicts, and that seems to be the problem he's having right now.
At least air is not up for yeah, air is not up there for free to resolve at any point unless he drops a Seeker of Knowledge.
Although free will be able to
see.
I was say he'll be able to just grab the Void Ring and turn the Fate Worse Than Death back on, and he'll be able to Void Nujiaki and kill him with the Fate Worse Than Death that he almost assuredly still has in hand.
We do see AG pull out the LPB.
Yep, he did just lose a political conflict. So he will have an LPB on his next military attack, but this Mediator is going to get a trigger if he goes for it. It's a bit unfortunate. And we're just going to see a Void Poke, I think. Maybe I'm really bad at guessing. Maybe it'll be an Earth Poke. No, Void. Getting the 2 Fate. Turning on a Fate Worse Than Death. Making it really expensive for your opponent to defend at all. And we see the LPB come out for defense here. I wonder if Grody's just going to not do anything this turn and just defend twice until this Mediator's gone away. I don't know if that's the right play, because you are on a bit of a clock as Grody.
Sashimono.
Sashimono. That's
quite
a
powerful
great card.
here.
Yeah, the only attachment control that Fleepa is running is Mia Mystic because the Scorpion Splash is quite tight, especially if you have the 3 backhanded compliments in there. So with no attachment control on board, this Sashimono will give him an extra use of this LPB. Or an extra 2 uses if he plays the turn out and actually attacks. But, I mean, while the Sashimono helps, I still think Grody is in quite a bit of a hole this game. Still down 4 cards and 7 honor on his opponent. Doing a 3 character conflict, which is what you gotta do against the Orator and the Fate Worse Than Death. It's the only way you're gonna get any sort of conflict win out of this Phoenix player. So we'll see how it goes. So if I'm free and I want to actually defend this conflict, I need to commit all 3 characters and the stronghold. So free just decides, nah, not about that life. Doesn't defend, passes, and do we see another display of power? And we do. Lovely. So there we go, another display of power. Gonna probably dishonor Ag here. Nope, he's going for the reach.
Nope.
Maybe he has the backhanded compliments in hand to close out the game with another unopposed conflict. And if he does, this could be the game right now. We could
Free
see
is pretty good at drawing. Good at drawing cards. The Orator is still available to just not let the LPB defend, although it only has 1 skill. Anyway, this is a dangerous position.
But the unopposed is an honor loss. So right now you can use the Mediator to take an honor, which you should. I don't think he has yet. He can get an unopposed, that's another honor. So Grody's effectively at 3. And then 3 backhanded compliments would be the game, though that would be exceedingly lucky to have seen that in the top 14 cards. So I have to imagine Grody's going to live another turn, but he'll be down to 3 honor. And the threat of backhanded compliment will be looming. And the Earth Ring here. Gonna just give Fleepa more cards. We see guard duty come out onto the LPB, but it's just gonna get sent home before it can do that, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, free doesn't mess around this time, doesn't miss the window.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he should have pre-played that guard duty as Grody. And once more, I think free ends up taking the favor, thanks to display of power. And we do see the meddling mediator come out there. Grody discards censure, doesn't matter, he wasn't going to have the favor anyway. And I have to wonder, is Grody just dead here? He's on 1 honor because of the 2 dishonored characters leaving play. 1 backhanded compliment is the game. Because I forgot to count the dishonored characters in my early math. Is actually Grody's really, really bad.
Yeah, he has
really
to let the leave play in order to not be dead to 1 backhanded compliment.
Oh, you're right. Satoshi is honored in leaving play, so he'll be at 2 honor. So he's not dead to 1, he's dead to 2 backhanded compliments. But as well, Sukune should be able to trigger... Oh no, all the rings that were relevant are taken. So no void for Sukune.
Yeah, looks like he's paying stand your ground, which makes him dead to 1 backhanded. Yep, stand your ground gets edicted, which is interesting. So I guess he doesn't have the 1 backhanded compliment yet.
Oh, I think if I'm free, I'm going first next turn. I can just force an unopposed air with my Orator.
AG does have 3 glory, although I guess Orator goes up to 4, but if he finds other high glory characters, maybe not. Although surely you'd still just be dead to Honored Sakune. Naive Student, another MVP in Dishonor Phoenix. Asuka Diplomat, the same.
MVP in all Phoenix. Naive Student. Card's great. It's not Bayushi Liar great, but it's great. And we see the Adept of the Waves come out too. Oh, this is getting exceedingly awkward. So there's a lot of kills on board right now. One backhanded compliment plus an air win will do it. Attacking with the Diplomat and air will do it if he has assassination, so because he can just dishonor the Toshiro and then assassinate him. Display of Power obviously does it too because Grody has to claim a ring. Though the Akuma Prodigy will give him a little bit more breathing room with 3 actually, so missed that. So he's not quite dead, he's still holding on, but the clasp is tightening, so to speak. So as we go into the conflict phase, I wonder if Fleepa is just going to go for the first action air conflict. I think it purely depends on whether or not he has display of power. By display of power, I would just leave the air ring on the table and either trigger it with Sakune at the end of the turn or display of power it when my opponent attacks with it. Similarly with fire. So I think he can actually pretty safely go water here if he has the third display of power. But that would be pretty lucky, wouldn't it?
Well, we know he has something, and it probably isn't backhanded compliment, because the stand your ground on Satoshi would have been the kill with the 1x backhanded.
Yeah, that's a fair point. If he had the backhanded compliment, he would have just played it and won.
Can't actually see what we're hanging on. I don't know if it's the trigger for waning hostilities or if it's first action in conflict phase.
Yeah, I think it's the trigger for waning hostilities, and Fleepa is just considering if he wants to use it this turn very, very cautiously. Looks like he decides not to and passes. Obviously, waning hostilities is much less useful if you are going first. So we don't see him use the Adept of the Waves, so I have to imagine he's just going to go for a really strong air conflict here.
Has to watch out for AG a little bit if he does poke in with political.
Right, EG will be able to get back another LPB. Literally the same LPB he got back last turn. But that might not be the worst thing ever. Oh, looks like he just decides to pass his conflict opportunity entirely. Have Grody walk into him and then set himself up for that.
This looks like it could be first action, a fate worse than death on AG.
Yeah. I feel like that's gotta be what's gonna happen here. And there's no way Grody can stop it. Voice of Honor is currently turned off.
Which is probably why he's not doing it.
Decides to switch over to Toshiro, a little bit more of a safe play, and actually very likely to actually present a real threat for winning the ring, being able to go up to 7 skill. So this is where Toshiro actually really shines.
Yeah, no commander, unfortunately. So if the character gets dishonored in the conflict and then is discarded, it's pretty bad news.
Yeah. Well, the only way he gets dishonored is by a Force Shame, and we just see a Courtier defend, so
The Diplomat could do it.
the Diplomat could Force Shame him. And even if you use that ability, Diplomat plus Adept of the Waves, actually it's still not enough, even with the Dishonored Toshiro. I wonder what Fleepa's thinking here. I wonder how much skill he's going to be able to get here. Oh, we see Harmonize. And then
That'll
the Diplomat
do it.
wins. Yeah, good use of Harmonize here.
Harmonize is another one of those cards that he can use to just not have to worry about breaking basically ever happening. Almost getting a completely free trigger on the Sako Diplomat.
Yep. And Grody can't assassinate and stop it. We see him dishonor the Akoma Prodigy. Interesting as well. Wonder if he's going to assassinate it later.
Yeah, Fate Worse Than Death on either of these one Fate characters and then assassinate on the Prodigies. Just bad news bears.
Yeah, and you know the Fate Worse Than Death is coming. Again, it's just a card you have to play into early. Because when you get to the stage in the game where you're on the verge of losing, a Fate Worse Than Death will just close the game. Where early game, you can take that hit and not be losing. Not be losing the game off it, that is. Pigment says 3 Fate, but the Water Ring has a Fate on it that Fleepa can just take. He can just do like a military water with the...
Water is a good ring to contest as Phoenix when Sukune is standing. Yep, that's what we're seeing. We're gonna see water. He's gonna covert past someone.
Probably... I don't know, actually. There's no real great coverts here. It's going to be military water because you don't want to give EG a trigger. I mean, you probably just covert Toshiro, I guess. Like, there's not really a great covert here. But coverting Toshiro does mean he bows from the water ring, going at the Art of War. So, that's safe. Giving your opponent 3 cards kind of stinks when you've built up this massive hand advantage, but at this point, I think Fleepa is just going for the kill. So if Grody doesn't defend, he has to attack water. Oh yeah, defending with the Prodigy makes a lot of sense. Just gives you a body without actually really needing to commit stats, but there's the assassination.
This would be the reason that defending with it doesn't make sense. Now you take the unopposed anyway.
Well, I mean, he can assassinate it at home. It doesn't really matter. Like, if you don't defend with it gets assassinated at home.
Do anything to prevent UO.
Right, but like it forces.
A big problem.
Yeah. But
I mean, we can split hairs all we want. The game is currently ending if Grody doesn't claim the fire ring, and I don't see that happening. Yeah, he calls GG. Oh, just the one backhanded. So.
Yep, there it is.
Should I ask them if they drew the backhanded this turn?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I think no matter what, once that situation with the Harmonize happened, I'm pretty sure Grody was actually pretty dead no matter what. There's not a lot he can do once the covert water comes out. He can defend with all 3 characters, but even though that it prevents the unopposed, he has no characters to prevent Sukune from dishonoring Toshiro. Like, yeah, I don't see Grody's out.
I mean, just look at the board. It's pretty clear that there were a lot of options available to Fleepa that could have gotten him there. I do have to say that I have played against him in Discord Cup games. Well, one game, and it is a pretty frustrating deck to lose against. So I do feel for Grody.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty hard control deck. It seeks to stop you from doing much, and just slowly work its way toward its own win condition. And the only real issue with the deck is consistency. If you don't open with a library, an extra card draw, and the one bid can really ruin your ability to actually like get anything going, and you can get steamrolled. but didn't happen this game. We saw the library in the opener. We saw excellent card draw coming out throughout the entire game from an Imperial Storehouse and this library being around all game. And Grody just admittedly didn't have a great ability to really push any pressure on the Phoenix.
No, you're really at the mercy of your dynasty deck in this matchup to get something done before they stabilize. And then once they stabilize with those cards like Harmonized, Display of Power, A Fate Worse Than Death, Sukune, Waning Hostilities, it just becomes excruciatingly difficult to push anything through.
Yep. It can be a very, very, very frustrating experience, especially when Satoshi mills out like 25 of your cards and all of your spirit colors. So that was the game. That's Dishonor Phoenix, everybody. So thank you, Luke, for joining me for this cast, and thanks to the players for letting us stream it, and thanks to you viewers who's tuned in to watch this game.
All right, thanks, Travis.
No problem, Luke. Take care. And take care to you guys watching the stream. Good night.